This is Chandler Garcia, and this is my final. I chose to do it on my first essay, and this is how I became me. So, growing up, a big part of the way I grew up was my religious background. I grew up in a church, specifically a Catholic church, and religion was super important to my family, and especially in Mexican families. Religion is a big thing, especially Catholicism. And the thing about Catholicism are the super strict beliefs. So I went to catechism school starting at a young age. And from a very, very young age, I knew I was different from my peers and other people in my church because of my queer identity. And in catechism school, I was often preached to about how the way I identified was wrong and that I wasn't loved for it. And because of this, I felt unwelcomed and unloved by my church. So I grew to reject my faith as a way of sort of rejecting myself and accepting myself and my queer identity. But because of the way I grew up, a big part of the way I identified were my beliefs. And so rejecting these to love myself more put me in a weird position where I felt very lost and I didn't have a sense of community in the way that I had it in church anymore. Another really strong thing that happened, really another strong part of my upbringing was my family. And in traditional Mexican households like mine, family is super important, not just my household family, but my extended family. And unity and traditions in Mexican families creates community because there's always something for everyone to do. But when I started to accept my identity and become more comfortable with myself and became more obviously queer, I faced a lot of backlash from my extended family, and I didn't feel accepted or super loved by them anymore. And so I didn't feel like family or unity was super important as much as I felt it was before I was more comfortable with my identity. I didn't have the sense of community anymore that I felt in family, and I just felt rejected and alienated instead. The traditions in Mexican households kind of create something for everyone to do, and I didn't feel welcomed in traditions anymore, which made me reject a lot of traditions that I grew up with. So I started looking for community through other things and a lot of subcultures. So from the time that I was 13 to 17, I was very involved in my local emo community. And I'd go to a lot of shows and concerts with people from there. But the thing about the people in my local emo community were that most of them were primarily white or not queer identifying. So I still didn't feel a super strong sense of community with them because they weren't as like minded as me or as similar as me. They didn't understand me as much as I would have hoped to. So I looked after high school, I started going to raves and became a lot more involved in underground rave scenes. And I found the sense of community that I wanted, and I felt a sense of belonging through the electronic artists, and I felt represented by them, One of these artists is Arca, who's a trans Venezuelan artist. And they became a huge inspiration to me, and through them and their music and the rave scene, I found a lot of my closest friends who I consider family now, and I found the sense of community that I'd been searching for. So raves became a big part of who I am and made me feel more comfortable with myself and my queer identity, seeing all these people of color and queer people expressing themselves so strongly and comfortably made me love myself more and become who I am.